We're going to zoom down to Melbourne and to John Stuart. And it says here that he's into adult education. And knowing Jack Stuart, he's into all sorts of things. Are you there, John?
Good afternoon, all. This is a great honour to be able to speak to this remarkable work. My journey actually goes back with Michael back to the seminary in 1965 when he came. I was 3 years ahead of him. And I often wonder when I went to the seminary whether that was the start of my journey into mystery. And one of the lovely mysteries I did have back then was I loved playing football with Michael, not against him. One of the great things that has happened for me over the years is to be in my work now as a spiritual director. I was priest for 8 years. Then I worked in the alcohol and other drug field. And what I found when I was working in the alcohol and other drug field, there was no one who was not saved. There was a deep sense of people, even in the depth of addiction, were screaming in their addiction for peace and for harmony and for release. Sadly, when I was working in the alcohol and other drug field in the 80s, the spiritual dimension of rehab was almost non-existent. And that led me to Chicago, to the Institute for Spiritual Leadership, where I studied and did a formation program at the Institute for Spiritual Leadership as a spiritual director. And since 1990, I've been working mainly as a spiritual director, but in all sorts of different forms. I worked in the alcohol and other drug field for many years. And then I'm now part of an amazing group that is actually a formation program for people interested in spiritual direction. And I do a lot of spiritual direction myself and lead retreats. And since '62, one of the things that's really influenced my life and work have been the mystics. And it's Teilhard de Chardin's comment, "We are spiritual beings on a human journey," that captures, by and large, what the institutional church hasn't got a clue about. That it's our humanness that is the starting point for what we do. And Teilhard captures that beautifully. And it means for me, and it comes out of Michael's book, the absolute delight and honour to know what it means to be human. And Michael's exploration of Aranda life opens up for me as a white fella what it really means to be human in another way. His insights just give it a terrific dimension to Teilhard's exploration. One of the chapters in the book that has just absolutely blown me out of the water is the Cosmic Christ. It is a beautiful, beautiful chapter. If nothing else, the book is worth reading just for that chapter, because what he captures is the understanding of what mystery is all about and how the Cosmic Christ is actually part of it. Mick Lay, in his review of the book, said that everything caught up, that the Cosmic Christ was there long before white fellas even knew it. And it's a bit like the Abraham story, isn't it? When Abraham finally gets to where he's going 3,500 years ago, meets Melchizedek, and suddenly realises that God was there before he was there, and he didn't know it. Now, one of the wonderful things that comes out of this book for me is Michael's, and I'll put it in this term, there's a wonderful phrase in Celtic spirituality spirituality called Anamkara, and it means soul friend. And a soul friend is that person who accompanies. And what this book does for me is show a person who is not a detached observer, but actually is immersed in people's lives, understanding very, very deeply what it means to be human. I'm certainly going to be using this book in our spiritual direction formation program, I know. I'm part of a spirituality group, a retreat group that meets 4 times a year. And this is the next book that we will be looking at when we study Indigenous affairs. And the wonderful thing that this book has done for me is actually showed how much we are one, that the cosmic Christ, that the Arunta wisdom is just, it's so much similar, and it's that beautiful dialogue that Michael has led us on. We will ever be enriched by someone who is an Anamkara. So I'd like to thank Michael deeply for this, and also listening to Magella before, what an amazing relationship and how you've been able with your family to encourage Dad to do this. Thank you very much, and let's hope that what is happening in this country and the world can find more people like Michael who can have the dialogue and be the Anamkara. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jack.